well, that's it. I'm done. Went to school. She broke the news to me that I had 13 more years. Kind of funny how sometimes we think things are easy. They are a certain way. Maybe that's the way it is with the Great Commandment. We can memorize it. We can repeat it, but it continues to take on life of its own. We continue to learn more of what it means and why it's spoken. I want you to think for a minute. What was the first thing that you said when you woke up this morning? What's the first thing you said? Some people were smiling, so it probably wasn't very good.
What time is it?
What time is it? Today, daylight savings time, right? We were all worried about our clocks, watching our clocks all night. Well, if you're an observant Jew, you recite the Shema. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, and your mind, and your strength. It's the very first thing you say when you get up in the morning. It's the very first thing you say when you lay in bed at night. It's the guide for your life throughout the day. Most of what we do in religion is to help people to remember our guide. Keep these words that I am commanding you today in your heart. Teach them to your children. Talk about them when you lie down and when you rise. So when Jesus answered the scribe in our story today, he simply quoted the 6th chapter of Deuteronomy, the Great Commandment. It's been my experience that the Great Commandment makes great people. Those who keep it close, those who remember it, those who use techniques to think about what they're doing through the day, who are intentional about their lives. The word remember is an important word in the Old Testament. It's the entire purpose of the religious life. It's why we have worship. It's why we sing songs, so that you'll remember them in times that you need those words. Our rituals are all designed to help you to remember certain things about the way Jesus lived his life, something that happened to him, something that he did. They are all things that lead us to a good life. Many of us today are amazed at the number of yard signs throughout Worcester. It always surprises me how long after elections people continue to leave their yard signs up. It's either as a victory march or in defiance, if your candidate's lost. Some people put signs in their front yard when their child is in an athletic program. Some of us a few years ago put signs in our yard for the God is Still Speaking campaign. Some people have big red O's with Buckeyes hanging off of them in their front yard. And they are all ways for us to remember. So remember the things that are important to us. Family rituals are designed to help you to remember. Listen to the words that Moses said. Teach them, observe them, keep them, impress them, recite them, talk about them, bind them, fix them, and write them. He wanted this to be a complete perspective on life. You know, Eric Erickson was a great psychologist who developed 6 different phases that we go through in life. And he said that the very first phase that we deal with, the first 18 months of life, is trust versus distrust. We learn that people are basically caring and they will watch over us and we can trust them. Or things happen that make us feel that we cannot trust that someone will take care of us or good things will happen to us. And if in that short 18-month period we develop distrust for the world, it affects every other stage thereafter. And we call this faith. And our faith is the place where we learn to trust God. We learn to trust that God is in control of these things, where we learn to trust other people. Faith is trust. What is the greatest of these, according to Jesus? The greatest of these is the Greek word prote, which means foremost or first, before anything else. Notice that way they would say the Shema, before anything else you do. To live by your highest self you know to be possible. When we hear that word, love the Lord your God with your whole heart, we're not talking just about affection, but we're also talking about a commitment. A commitment to be in relationship. I have a short video that is intended for premarital counseling before people get married. And that video it talks about how you have to have 5 positive interactions to balance out 1 negative interaction in a relationship. If that ratio ever gets less than that, the relationship is in trouble. And partly when you're having difficulties, what you do is you monitor how many positive interactions you have as balanced against the negative. And so it is in our life before God, in our love for God. We live in the world, and we have control over the world because we don't live in comfort. We don't live in crisis, but we set the agenda. And we say, this is the life that I've chosen to live, to love God and to love my neighbor. So the crises that come along, the temptations of becoming too comfortable tend to dwell up among us. And we have this one steady foundation in our whole lives. Robert Fulgham said something about that. He said, the grass is not always greener on the other side of the fence. Fences have nothing to do with it. The grass is always greenest where we water it. When crossing over fences, carry water with you and tend the grass wherever you might be. So today, think about these things. How is our worship a reflection of the love of God? How is our mission a reflection of the love of God for people? How is our fellowship an extension of our love of God for people? It's the first thing. It's the greatest thing. How great do people become when they maintain a discipline for loving God? We all know that relationships need nurture. They need effort. They need commitment. Before anything else, you need to live by your highest self you know to be possible. And we know, we see it, that the great commandment makes great people. Amen.